Is Mike Tyson actually sober? Recently, I've seen stuff in the news all over the place talking about if Mike Tyson is actually sober or not. And today, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the lies and the falsities that we tell ourselves in sobriety. Why would someone lie about sobriety? What's the deal here? We're going to get to the bottom of that and unpack it and talk about a lot of things that affect your sobriety, my sobriety, and good old Mike Tyson's sobriety. And I remember that great little character from the Nintendo game, Mike Tyson's Punch-Out! That was always fun to play as a kid. And we look at this recently, and we see lots of reports of Mike Tyson talking about sobriety, but people don't think he's really sober because he's smoking stuff, right? Or we don't think he's really sober because maybe he's using psychedelics to stay sober. Are these controversial issues actual sobriety? Is this better than some 12-step program? Did he find some secret that the rest of us need to latch onto to get and stay sober? Today, that is what our topic's about. So we're going to talk about why would Mike Tyson lie about sobriety? Why would he lie about his alcohol addiction? And why does anyone lie about addiction? And is your mind tricking you into thinking that maybe you're not an addict or an alcoholic when in fact you might be? So today, welcome to the show. We're going to talk about Mike Tyson. We're going to talk about sobriety. We're going to talk about TalkSober.com. We got a lot of stuff for you. How you doing today, Terry?
I'm doing all right, and I'm sober. Beautiful day here.
Are you lying about that, though?
I am not lying.
That is the question there. So what's your take on this? I know you did some research on this Mike Tyson issue where a lot of people say, you know, maybe he is sober, maybe he's not sober. What'd you find out here?
Well, you know, if you go back into his early years, first of all, I mean, I think it's kind of relevant for us to look at that. You know, by the time he was 16, his mother had passed away. His father was in prison. He was on his own. And then I don't know exactly, but a trainer kind of took him under his wing and kind of became his surrogate dad. And he started into his boxing career. You know, during that and before that, he was had some involvement with some shady people as well. And from what I understand, it was not the most peaceful way of life. And that there was a lot of chaos in his life. And, you know, he started to get into his boxing career and he found something to focus on. And obviously he was naturally talented at it and had the right training and became the world's first heavyweight champion, or the youngest at 20 years old. And his boxing career went on. I'm sure all of you know this. And how great of a fighter he was. And many argue that he was the best or one of the best, definitely. And I'd have to concur with that. But in the midst of all this, this super successful life was catching up to him as well. And he had a lot of demons in his closet. And, you know, that's what I think I can really relate to. And I think many of us can relate to is these traumas and things that we look back on our life at that maybe we're not so proud of, maybe we're pretty shameful of it. And I think he dealt with a lot of this. And, you know, it seemed from looking at many of his interviews that he was using alcohol and other stuff to escape some of those feelings that were coming up. And he used that for quite a while. And you know, it was a difficult thing for him to get over, and I think he's still battling so many of these demons that he had, and you know, he's trying to work on them. He's identified them, but he's still trying to work on them, and I think that's something that we have to learn how to deal with as we go through sobriety. It's something that I had to learn how to deal with, and I've dealt with them, and sure, some of those memories crop up, absolutely. But I have tools to work my way through these things, and that's what I try to do every day.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting because, you know, one of the things that fascinates me from a psychological standpoint and a commercialism society standpoint is the way that we treat celebrities. It's interesting because we live in this world, and this will make sense in just a minute, but we live in this world where everything is consumerized right? It's basically like you are the person you are because of the stuff you buy. Like if you get a certain car, then you're that certain type of person. You're one of those people or whatever it is. And we look at success in terms of dollar bills, not in terms of who helps people out the most, right? And so in this world of consumerism, you have these celebrities that quote unquote rise to the top, and a lot of people get obsessed with them, and they look at celebrities and they're on the gossip magazines and they get all this stuff. And what happens is in a world of consumerism, they have become the commodity. Right? And it's actually a very sad thing when you look at it. It's like, okay, so now they're the commodity and they're lockstep into a role of life that says this is who you are. So Mike Tyson, 20 years old, heavyweight championship, 20 years old. I mean, I didn't know my butt from my face at 20 years old. I'm starting to kind of see those now. But at 20 years old, you're lockstepped into this role where you are this person. And not only that, but he has trauma that he's bringing in that told him, you're this person. You're the trauma person. Now you're the kick-ass boxer person. Now you're this. Now you're that. And to add, yeah, I'm also an alcoholic, is to say, I've been defeated by something. And I don't know, these boxers don't seem like they like to get defeated by anything. I certainly wouldn't get in the ring with any of them. I like to stay out of the ring. I'll stay, I'll get it in the nosebleed seats and then I'll be fine. But we look at that and we're like, okay, now this person has this role. And maybe you feel that on a certain level where you feel like life dealt you a role. You were the person who was abused. You had the mean step parent. You had the alcoholic family. You had all these things, and now you come to life, and now you're an accountant, and you need to live up to this standard. Or you have a role in your marriage, or a role in your family. And this is where you're at. And this is a lot what happens with celebrities, only it happens at a rapid pace. See, what happens is we start to realize that the role we've been living is nothing more than a role. Now, at this point, what some people do, maybe people like Mike Tyson, they turn to alcohol and they don't know how to deal with it, or drugs, or whatever it is, church, religion, all kinds of things. People turn to all kinds of things, some productive, some non-productive. And what happens is they start to put on a new role. They start to put on a new suit. Now, I'm Mike Tyson, the ex-boxer, because now I'm 60 and I don't know, you probably can't punch like you used to. So some of that stuff dries up a little bit. And we start to look at it and say, well, who am I now? Who am I now? And how do I cope with this? And a lot of times in sobriety, we lie about our sobriety for two reasons. One, because it means who we are. If I'm not sober, people are going to look at me differently. Two, is so that we can continue to use our drug of choice. Because if we can continue to use and lie about it, then we're able to cope with life on our terms and seemingly get through these things in a different way. And I think those are important to look at because all of it is wrapped up into this role that we think we are. And I think a lot of times celebrities have this too, where they get in this role and they're like, well, wait a minute, I never really got to choose who I wanted to be. I never really thought about who I am. It's always, I'm the actor, I'm the boxer, I'm the news anchor. And everyone cares about me for that. If I wasn't that, no one would give a rip. So if I'm not that, then do I matter? And this, I think, not only is a problem for us alcoholics and addicts, but it's a problem in society as a whole. What do you think about that, Terry?
Oh, you made a couple of really good points there. And for me, and looking at my past before alcohol took control of me, and I was still a heavy drinker, so it's it's an argument as to whether alcohol was controlling me or not. But I was a chef, and every time I had gotten a different job or something, and I didn't have a whole lot of jobs. I stayed at places for a pretty long time, but every time I'd start at a new place, I'd start and I'd work, and eventually I would become the strongest or one of the strongest people there, and I'd get promoted. and I keep on getting promoted, and that's the way. That was kind of this look that I had. I was a successful chef. I did a good job, and people liked me, and I was personable and all that. And then alcohol started to take control over me, and I had this house of cards that I had to keep up, and I wanted to continue to drink. I kind of knew that alcohol was a problem. I kind of knew that it was just going downhill. And you know what my answer was to lower my expectations, or lower what, I was going up the ladder and up the ladder, and instead I took a step down, if not a couple steps down, so that I could continue to be as strong as I might think that I was in the job, but at the same time continue to drink. And so I was just full of lies, and that's what I did. I lied and lied, and alcohol just slowly took over, and I kept taking steps down until eventually I just walked off the job because I couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't keep up that house of cards. But did I admit it? Did I admit it to other people that I had a problem? Absolutely not. So sorry about that. But yeah, and so it was tough. It was a difficult thing to deal with, that's what a lot of us have to deal with when we're in the midst of our addiction, is trying to keep this facade of that life is together, and then continuing to drink because we want to keep drinking, or we need to keep drinking because we have to push down those emotions, or it's a combination of both. And for me, it was more of a combination. Drinking continuing to drink because I had shame in the fact that I had this secret. And also, it made me feel good, even if it was just for a few minutes. That's what I did. And that's what I think a lot of these celebrities did as well, is they had this facade. But at the same time, this addiction was taking hold, and they didn't want to admit that they were weak. And a person like Mike Tyson, he's a fighter. He doesn't want to appear weak at all. It's his whole persona, his strength. I'm more powerful than you. You get in the ring, you get the mean stare down, things like that.
Yeah. Well, it's funny too, because I've always looked at life in a different way. I don't know why. And it's funny, we look at it because I would, as a kid, I remember thinking to myself, we go in these rooms where people are important, but outside that room, nobody cares. And it's like, okay, yeah, Mike Tyson is important because in the boxing ring, he's going to do this. But you're literally talking about what, a 25 by 25 square on the planet that maybe 20,000 people gather to watch people beat the tar out of themselves. I don't know. I never got boxing. And we look at that and we're like, we think that it's so significant. But I think that one of the things that I had a hard time with, that a lot of people have a hard time with, that I think celebrities like Mike Tyson and other people have a hard time with as well, is the fact that they believe that there is a significance, but deep down they know if they vanished off the planet, you're old news. Nobody really cares. And so we look at this and like, how much are people actually talking about Trump right now? Not. Like if Trump was gone tomorrow, people wouldn't care. In 10 years, it would be no thought, right? Or with Tyson, if he was gone, it would be a no thing. And I think that's something that can be very scary, that eventually no one's going to care. Or it could be the most enlightening thing. Because in the end, now I don't need to worry about this stuff, and I can just live and be the way I want to live and be. And a lot of people look at this and they live life in what my opinion would be a superstitious manner. Oh, the universe wants this. Oh, God told me that I should go do that. It's like, oh, is that really it? Is this entire planet with famine and hunger and wars and all this stuff, God's worried about me, getting a promotion? I don't know. I hope he's more focused on other stuff, apparently. Like, I think people that are affluent and doing okay, he can spend a little less time on. But with celebrities, I think that they get this persona that the worth is overinflated, but it's a house of cards. And I would challenge to say that that's all of us. The self-worth that we build in ourselves, even if it's not hundreds of millions of dollars and the ability to duke it out in the ring, maybe it's something else. Maybe I pride myself on that. I'm not like that. I'm not like those people. I don't feel that way, which is a sense of pride because I'm saying I'm not like them. It's like that old Sunday school joke where they were talking about the Pharisees in Sunday school, and they're talking about how they're prideful and they think they're better than everyone. And all of a sudden they end their Sunday school and they say, "Hey, little Timmy, would you pray for the session?" And little Timmy prays and he says, "God, I thank you that we're not like those dirty Pharisees." And it's like, didn't you just listen to what it was about? You're doing the very same thing. And so we look at this and we have our lives, which are more or less houses of cards that can switch at an instant. One health issue and we're gone. Simple. One accident, we're gone. And we don't realize how fragile we are and what really matters. And I think that is why people lie about sobriety, because they can't handle the way that they've built the persona of who they are sometimes. What do you think about that, Terry?
Well, I had this big ego combined with this low self-esteem, and it was just, that just caused me to drink more because I wanted to keep this house of cards going. To get sober, I had to smash that ego. I had to get over of what other people think. I remember when I was drinking, I was like, I don't care what anybody thinks about me. I don't care. I did. When I really look at it, when I step back, that was my biggest concern. I didn't want people to know that I was an alcoholic because I wanted to keep drinking. I didn't want people to think that I was weak. So I kept on drinking. And that just caused this low self-esteem. I was like, I'm a loser. I can't stop drinking. I'm lying to everybody. That was my deep down thoughts. That wasn't my conscious thoughts, but that was what I was thinking deep down. And I think that's what a lot of people go through. I had to smash that ego down, and at the same time, I had to build my self-esteem up. And how did I build that self-esteem up? Well, we talk about it all the time. I had to stop drinking. That was the very first thing I had to do, was stop drinking. I had to go to the doctor. I had to get medical help to get sober. I had to get through that first couple days of detox with doctor supervision. Then I had to get more help from meetings, from other sober friends. Anything I could find is what I looked for. That's what I had to do. And then I started to work on my life as well, as far as, well, how do you build self-esteem? You do esteemable things. And that's what I tried to do, was start to live a good life, try to help other people, things like that. And that's what allowed me to sort of build my self-esteem. I still have self-esteem issues, absolutely. I know I'm not perfect. I still want to put on that facade, or maybe not facade, but the vision of people, I'm a good guy and all that. But I know I'm not perfect. It's just something I work on every day. But working on those self-esteem things, like the helping other people, being a good person, helping around the house, things like that, that helps me a lot. And that allows me to realize, no, I'm not a bad guy. I'm okay. So that's kind of how I go through things. I wanted to hit this one comment that Grimm said, and it was the only good thing I see with celebrity addiction is to give hope to everyday people to learn that no matter who you are, we all go through tough things and sometimes need help. And that's actually a very important point as far as seeing celebrities that have gotten sober, that have gone through the exact same struggles I have, or just meeting other just regular people that are alcoholics, that maybe they were a CEO of a bank or something like that, and realizing that they got the same problems that I did as far as alcohol is concerned. And their solution, that's what's really cool, is their solution is the same thing that I can do. And I can do that. Doesn't need the super expensive rehabs or anything like that. I can follow a solution and get there and get sober and stay sober. Mm-hmm. And when I talk to these people, they're just like me, except for they have a bigger house or whatever. But that doesn't matter.
Yeah, and Mike Tyson's a little bit stronger, just a tad. But it's interesting because we look at this stuff, and ego gets in the way, and I think part of the issue is that when we look at celebrities and lives like that, we think that they have some magic solution to life that we don't. Like, oh, well, if I had $200 million in the bank, then I probably wouldn't drink as much. No, you'd probably drink more. It'd be more expensive stuff, right? And we look at life as we're not like that. And sometimes celebrity addictions can be bad for society because oftentimes they're the pendulum swing, right? You see that like Charlie, the guy, what's that guy? That Charlie Sheen, that guy. Like we're here drinking in our houses and nobody cares, nobody knows. A couple people do. Charlie Sheen's out there and he's like a spectacle for the world to see, doing God knows what, who knows where. And so we look at that, we say, well, I'm not as bad as Shane. That's a real addict. He's a guy who needs rehab, not me. Russell Brand, that's a guy who needs, this, not me. And we look at all these people, and again, what we're doing is we're not facing the fact that we're all humans and we all relate and we all are the same. It is society that tells you different. If society thought, 5 foot tall people with white shirts and funny hair were important, then I would be the king. Doesn't matter. Apparently they think that boxing is important and punching people is important and throwing footballs and acting on TV. When in actuality, when you look at these things, what is it? It's a guy literally, I don't have a camera around here. Where's my camera? It's a guy literally just standing behind a camera acting like something he's not. Or football. It's a guy literally playing. That's what they're doing. Or whatever it is. And we look at things in weird ways, and we look at what society agrees on. And Terry, I know as a chef, this one will bug you as much as it bugs me. But if we are to look at how society votes, McDonald's is the best food on planet Earth. That is the most successful restaurant. Now, do I agree? No, I think it's terrible. From a chef's standpoint, I don't think a chef ever even looked at the place. But we look at how things are skewed, and it teaches us that life is made up of agreements. That's all it is. Otherwise, we're all just cave people walking around. But instead, we decided to build a house, and we thought houses were good things. And we decided to make a language because instead of being like, Terry, make me some eggs, I say, hey, Terry, can you make me some eggs? Right? And so we start to have these agreements of what is good and what is important. It's bad to admit you're an alcoholic because it's weak. No. I find strength in that. I think the strongest thing I ever did in my life was say I am an alcoholic and I'm going to get help to do something about it because I'm human. And I think the strongest thing we can do in our life is not go beat people up and, say we're sober when we're not. I think it's to go and admit to ourselves that who I am can't be defined, and it doesn't really matter even if it could. Because really all you're saying is this is who I am within the confines of society. That's really all it is. Within the confines of society, Terry is a chef. I am a internet business thing person. Tyson is a boxer. That is all within the confines of society. There are cultures on this earth where if you were like, how does that guy make his living? Well, he makes his living by punching people in a little square box. And when someone falls over, he gets like $100 million. They'll be like, wait a minute. So he punches someone, they fall over in a box, and the money he gets is enough to fix starvation in my country? And you think he's important and you worship him? That's interesting. Okay. But it's all within confines. It's not bad or good. It just is what is. And the sooner we realize that this is all agreements. I agree that admitting I'm an alcoholic and getting help is a good thing. Lots of people don't agree with that. I agree that living my life in accordance with I am not important. I am get in line. Get in line. You're not important. And when we look at it, illnesses and issues are not partial. Billionaires get the same sicknesses that non-billionaires get, for the most part. Obviously, if you live in a country where there's certain things, but the same thing in that country, the rich people and the poor people get the same thing. And so we look at this and we say to ourselves, the universe is not partial. It's not. It doesn't matter. The universe doesn't look down and say, well, Mike Tyson, he's a little bit more important than this other guy. No, you do that. I do that. But the universe doesn't do that. And when we realize that this is a societal problem, and I can step back and look at it on an overview, then I am removed from it. Just like OCD and intrusive thoughts. If I could step back and realize that those are going on, it's like Plato's cave, right? I think it was Plato. Yeah, the allegory of the cave. And he tells a story of this cave where these people chained to seats, and the light comes in the cave behind the seats, and sometimes people walk by and they see the shadows on the wall. And this is all they've known their entire life is shadows on the wall. And all of a sudden they go, well, there's a big shadow that follows darkness. So big shadow equals darkness. Little shadow comes and then people fight. We see a fight in the shadows. And their entire life is spent determining the way the life on the screen or the rock is. But is that reality? No. They could get out of the cave and be like, ah, shit, you mean this is just like a walkway? And like we thought this guy was, plowing over people when in actuality he just had a wheelbarrow and he was farther away, which made him look bigger. And this guy was closer, which made him look smaller. And everything I thought I believed was in the confines of the fact that I lived in the cave and I did not see the outside world. And now we can see the outside. Addiction. Your addiction happened because of a chemical issue that affected your brain. That's what it is. Now, I'm an alcoholic because I can't handle my liquor. I'm an alcoholic because of these things that happened in the past. I'm an alcoholic because. You're an alcoholic because of the chemical makeup of alcohol doing something to your brain. And I guarantee you, if you quit drinking, you won't be an alcoholic anymore. You'll be a recovered alcoholic and you can go on the rest of your life not drinking. But I think those are important things to look at.
Yeah, absolutely. Your cave metaphor really talks about perspective. And that's something that I did not have so much when I was drinking as far as a sober perspective. My perspective was coming from a chemically imbalanced mind. The drinking was just continuing my negative thought process and continuing to make me think that there was some other answer other than stopping drinking. And, I was thinking about this, that, I kickboxed. I did full contact kickboxing for, almost a decade and a half or so. And I still got like hand problems and all that from it. But anyways, I was pretty strong then. I also cycled, I ran marathons. I was a strong guy. And when alcohol took over, that all kind of went away. But I was really strong. And my point here is is, the strongest I've ever felt in my life was when I finally accepted the fact deep down in my heart that I was an alcoholic. That's when I felt the most strength I've ever had. And it didn't matter that I was physically a mess at the time. I just had all this strength come up. It gave me a new perspective, like if those guys were released from their cave and they went outside and they got a new perspective on life. That was what happened with me. I was released from the cave of alcoholism, and I had this new perspective, and I realized that life could get better, and that was huge. And I still have that feeling of strength right now, although I have to be careful because one drink, that's all it takes for me is one drink, and I'm back on a really negative highway, if that's even a phrase. But but I still feel that power that sobriety has given me, in the fact that I'm able to stay sober right now. I don't have to take a drink right now. I don't have to take one today, and I haven't had one for a while now. So that's huge, and the strength came from not just the accepting of the alcoholism, but it came from accepting help and doing what I said earlier, smashing that ego and not thinking I can do this on my own. Yeah. Realizing, looking at my past, thinking that I could do it on my own and never being successful, and just looking at things real, taking that step back. Somebody earlier has said, I don't have it right in front of me, but they said it's important to take a step back and look, and that's what I had to do, is step back, look at what has been successful, which was nothing, and then realize I needed that help. I need to change my perspective. I need to keep a new, sober perspective, and that's what I have to do. And that's what I did. And so far, it's worked out pretty good.
Yeah.
Life's all right.
Yeah, and I think that's what we learn, is that life can be okay. And I think sometimes we look at the other side of things, and it's interesting because we don't know our life is bad until we look at other people's lives. It's kind of interesting. Like, you don't know the thing. Like, it's funny because I know a lot of people, they look at wealth as a big status symbol. And one of the things that I don't know why, but I like old cars and old engines. And I'm not talking old cars like 1950s. I'm talking like 1910s. I'm just fascinated with them. And I think it's interesting the way that they worked. And if you were to look at a Mercedes-Benz or a Ford back in the early 1900s, your car now is like royalty. Like, you have a CD player, you have an air conditioner, you don't have to crank the thing to start it, you have an airbag, you have a seat belt, you have a roof. Like, when it rains, it doesn't just like fill up the bucket you're sitting in. And so we look at this and we're like, okay, well, why do we think that ours is bad? Even if you have an old busted up car, it's still better than what was. But, it's not as good as the Lamborghini you see, which apparently is important because, the speed limit sign says 65, 75 in some areas, but apparently I need to know that I can go 4 times that amount. I can't go 4 times that amount, but at least I know. And I can do that in uncomfortable seats and a little box of a car that is completely unsafe. But that'll tell me that I've arrived. And that's why I don't like my car. Or that guy has a bigger house, therefore I don't like mine. And what we need to do is learn to be okay where we're at right now. And learn to take the idea that what happens might not be good or bad. It's our interpretation of it that is that way. Right? Life ebbs and flows. Things happen. And when we learn that we are just part of the dance, we are part of what's going on, we are part of everything, then we realize that we don't need to claw our way to the top. We don't need to hide our addiction behind lies. Because guess what? Everyone else is pretty much like you. And that's one of the things that I found beauty in the recovery community was the fact that we realized we're all the same. Like, I remember when I went into rehab, I was like, Terry's not like me. He's the furthest thing away from me. What are you talking about? Terry probably thought the same thing. He's like, that guy's a lunatic. I'm not like him. Probably don't even need to be here. He's nuts, not me. But what we found out in the end is we're way more alike through our addiction and through our recovery than we ever would have thought. And you're probably a lot more like Mike Tyson in the realms of addiction than originally thought. And we start to realize that we are all the same. And we're all chemical, and we're all susceptible, and we're all pretty weak. Even Mike Tyson, he's weak. Like a little invisible germ can take him out. The germ he can't even see. Put that germ in the boxing ring, takes him out. He can't even throw a punch, can't even do anything. Yet here we are saying we're the king of the mountain. And you know what's funny? Even if you were the king on the biggest mountain on this earth, did you know that if you look at the earth from space, the mountains, like talking Mount Everest and all them big mountains, are less than the imperfections on a bowling ball? Like that's how big the earth is. Like you look at Mount Everest and you're like, ah, damn, that thing's huge. But then you pan out and it's like a bowling ball. Bowling ball looks pretty smooth. And we realize that, hey, I'm not that important, which to me is a blessing.
Yeah. Congratulations on 6 weeks, David. And appreciate your comments so far. Same, Tony, congratulations to yours 2 months. That's awesome. And appreciate all you guys' comments. Myself, I like the 64 Chevy Malibu or Nova. Those are my cars. But do I have one? No. Am I going to get one? Probably not. It's not practical. I'm happy with what I have. I have a car that works here. You know, we live a little bit out in the sticks. Sometimes I need four-wheel drive. And it snows here. Those are the wrong cars. I'm satisfied with what I have. I have what I need. And even if I didn't have a car that was good in the snow, I still would have what I need. I'd take care of what I needed to do, which maybe get chains or whatever for when it snows. But that's just kind of that was kind of a weak analogy. But either way, I'm satisfied with what I have. And do I want more stuff? Of course. Of course I want more stuff. But do I need more stuff? That's what I have to do in life, is just step back and look. Be appreciative of what I have, which the number one thing is sobriety. That's huge. I have sobriety, and that's big.
And if you guys want to support the channel and get all kinds of tools to help you get and stay sober, up here on the screen up there, you could go to talksober.com, click this big yellow button. This will take you to where you can sign up. For less than $1 a day, you can get all kinds of tools and stuff to help you get and stay sober. Just go to talksober.com, click the yellow button here, fill this form out. You'll get instant access to the course. You can cancel whenever you want, but I think you'll stay for a long time because it's got lots of good stuff in there, and it supports what we're doing here on the channel if you guys do like this stuff. Also, over at talksober.com, you can get a private sobriety call with Terry and myself. You can check out our resources, letters, Facebook group, and all kinds of other things as well. And that's over at talksober.com. Click the big yellow button, fill out the form, join our little community of recovering people here, and we'll see you over there as well.
Right on. Let's see some comments here. What did Ben say? I've wanted to do boxing, but as a massage therapist, might hurt my hands, want to take self-defense or something. And the reason I picked that comment out is I felt the same way. Well, I started kickboxing, and that's hard on your hands and your feet. You end up kicking elbows and things like that. You hurt your feet a lot. And I ran marathons, and I worked on my feet, and used my hands for my living as a chef. And yeah, it's tough. Nowadays that I'm sober, I don't put all these terrible things to my body together and watch my body fall apart. I had to get foot surgeries. I had to get hand surgeries because I just did too much. Nowadays, and I think somebody said it earlier, I forgot which one it was, but they said, taking it easy. There it is. Buzz said, I have to come to see the value in taking it easy. And that's what I do now. I take it easy. I ride a bicycle now. And, right before COVID, the summer before COVID, I was like, okay, I'm going to do 5 centuries this summer. And I trained and rode my bike. And that's what I did. I put so much time into cycling. And, I did the 5 centuries. And I felt good doing them. But I put too much into it. It took away on other parts of my life. Now, I still cycle, but I don't, do it all the time. It's more of an enjoyable thing. I don't have this thing I need to prove where I'm the strongest guy in our group. I don't have to do that anymore. And this is in sobriety that I, was this way. It's something I have to keep an eye on. I have to keep an eye on that ego and trying to feed it. Just be me. Try to enjoy life. Take it easy. And our program can help you steer in that direction. Definitely.
Absolutely. All right, guys. So, any other comments standing out to you, Terry, before we wrap up?
No, I think we're looking good. Really appreciate all you being here and all your regulars, Dave and Ben, and Nicholas and Neil. Good to see you, Neil. Chris, right on.
Cool. All right, guys, check out talksober.com. Go over there now. Check out all the links and everything we got for you. Definitely join the Facebook group if you want to be able to continue the conversations we have, and join the class if you want to keep us going. We are definitely trying to build the channel and reach a lot more people this year. So if you want to be part of that and help out, check out talksober.com and the resources there. Thanks for being there. Congrats on your sobriety, and we'll see you next week.